Hey everybody, Nate Carter here with today's Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. My kids have a little pair of binoculars that they love to play with, and they put on the binoculars and they say, "Wow, Daddy, you look so big," and then they love to turn the binoculars around and look through the wrong side, and it's really funny for them to say, "Daddy, you got so small," and I think there's a good lesson to learn in that. That a lot of what we see in life and the way we perceive life has to do with the lens that we look through. And whether you're looking through the lens that makes things magnified and larger, or whether you look through the opposite direction and everything is shrunk and small, it can really impact the way that you see the world. And the same goes for the way we read Scripture. A couple days ago, I started reading Leviticus, and probably like many of you, you see the book of Leviticus as kind of like eating broccoli. You know, it's something you have to do because it's good for you, but you don't really enjoy it. And so that's kind of the lens I was looking through as I was starting to read the book. And another way of looking at Leviticus is, a whole bunch of rules. And so the lens you look through is that these are God's restrictions that he's putting on his people. And if you follow my rules, then you'll be acceptable to me. But if you don't follow my rules, then I'm going to punish you. I'm going to banish you. And I found that as we read Leviticus and as we read the Bible, it's very helpful to turn the binoculars around and look through the lens a different way. Look through a different lens, and instead see it as God's desire to live among his people. They've just finished building the tabernacle, and now he has a dwelling place where God desires to live among his people. And the next thing that happens is that he gives instructions for what's to go on within that tabernacle, and specifically the sacrifices. And again, you can look through the lens of these are the rules and restrictions that I'm placing upon you to be a burden, or you can look at it as here is the way that I'm going to make you right with me so that I can dwell among you, because my desire is to be with you. Leviticus is all about God drawing his people back after the fall. He's desiring to live among his people, but to do this, and the only way that a perfect holy God can live among an imperfect unholy people is to deal with the problem of sin. And that's why he's created this system of sacrifice. Sacrifice is always required in order to deal with sin. So this is a helpful lens to look at as you read the book of Leviticus, but it's also really helpful for how you read the entire Bible. As you move out of the law and perhaps start to read the prophets, it can be easy to see this is God punishing his people for their unwillingness to follow the law, and the prophets calling out destruction upon the people. But there's another lens to read it, and I think a more accurate lens is that God is calling his people back, and he's saying, you've wandered away and I want to be with you again. But in order to do that, you're going to have to deal with the sin problems that you've now brought upon yourselves once again. And it's the same way that we look at Jesus when he enters the world. Jesus didn't come to judge the world, but he came to bring the world back to his Father, to God, to make the world right once again through sacrifice. And Jesus was coming to sacrifice himself. So I was challenged, and I hope that you will be challenged as well as you read Scripture, especially those tough Scriptures that would seem like God is just pouring out judgment on his people. Rather, look through the lens of a God who so desires to be among his people that he's simply creating the way. He's creating the pathway back to him so that he can once again live among us and dwell within us. As you read your Scripture, perhaps you can use that lens to read it today. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional.